That's a big bass. That's not a crappie at all. Hello everyone, back at it again in my great crawdad. And today we're doing something a little different. I thought I'd head out on a little pond with some BFS rods and fish little BFS jerkbaits like this one. This is a Pointer 65 SP. In case you're not familiar, BFS just means bait finesse system, and it's a way of throwing light lures on bait casters without having to use spinning gear. That's all it is, really. But it's a fun way to fish, and it's the same mechanics as fishing jerkbaits on a regular bait casting rod. They're just downsized. So I've got my 610 medium X Pride that I use for jerkbaits. I also use spinning rods for years and years and years, and those work fine too. But the X Pride is pretty dialed in for jerkbaits. It's good for a lot of other things too. I fish soft plastic jerkbaits on it too. I do that a lot, and all you need is a light wire hook to do that. All right, enough about the X Pride. I just hooked up with something substantial. This is my very first fish of the day. We got bright skies, light winds. I'm at a little pond with dark water, dark stained water. And my main target here was crappie. And I was just out, for fun afternoon of fishing. It's fall, you can see the leaves turning. And I've hooked something pretty big. At first I thought it was a giant crappie. Could be some of those still in there. But that's not a crappie, that's a big bass. And I've got it on my lightest BFS combo. And the drag's going, and he's giving me a little bit of a tussle here. You get a big fish like this on light line, light rod, and you're in for a battle. And that's part of what makes BFS fishing so much fun, is that, you catch a bunch of little fish, it's fun, but if you catch a big one like this, it's a whole heck of a lot more fun. He's got that, it's a perch colored Lucky Craft Pointer 65 SP, and he's got it kind of pinned in his mouth. I mean, he's hooked, but it almost kind of pinned his mouth open. So that fish wasn't going anywhere. By the way, I upgraded those hooks. I think they're evergreen trebles that I pulled off of another bait, size 8. But the original hooks that came with it were kind of light wire, and it didn't suspend perfectly. And with the upgraded hooks, it's a slow sinker, which is okay. I don't mind a slow sinking jerkbait. There's actually more and more slow sinking jerkbaits that are on the market now for forward facing sonar. I don't like floating jerkbaits or slow floating jerkbaits. I do much better with slow sinking jerkbaits or suspending jerkbaits. And that's because when the water gets cold, I'm in New England, so in the winters we have ice everywhere. Well, maybe not everywhere, but up north we have ice. And if you throw a floating jerkbait when the water starts dropping, the fish just watch it float away from them when you pause it. They won't chase it. They won't close the gap and chase it. In the summertime, they'll chase it up. But when I'm fishing jerkbaits, which is mainly in the cold weather season, they will not chase a jerkbait up. Scales bouncing around, 5-1, 5-0. We'll call it 5-0. Yeah, that's a nice one. That's better than I expected on this trip. Anyway, I'll play around with the jerkbaits to get them to do what I want them to do. And that's either suspend perfectly or slowly sink. And you can mess around with treble hook sizes. You can mess around with the gauge of the hook. You could fish a heavier wire hook to get it to sink. But the ones that give me the most trouble are the ones that are like fast sinking out of the box, or extremely high float jerkbaits, because you can only do so much. And I mean, I'm talking about gram differences in what gets these jerkbaits to suspend perfectly or float or sink. And so it's a lot of fine tuning, a lot of playing with different hooks and testing and then retesting and changing things out. So if something is fast sinking right out of the box, there's not much I can do with that. You know, I could take the hooks off and not catch any fish. And again, with high floating baits, you can only add so much weight. There's not that much I can do with that. And then they just, you know, go on a shelf somewhere. What's this? I got another fish. And that is a black crappie. That's the target species. But he's not that big. I don't know. Medium size, I guess. Still fun on BFS gear. The other thing I was doing with the jerkbait was adding a little scent to it, because I know crappie and bass, they like some scent on those jerkbaits. Any bait that is going to be, I'm taking a picture of this one. Any bait that's going to be sitting in front of the bass for a while, or crappie or whatever, if it's sitting still, I like some scent on it. For fast moving baits, I don't think it matters too much. But anything that's going to soak in front of a fish, I think scent makes a big difference. And I was using Smelly Jelly. I think it was Bass Feast today. But a lot of different scents work. I also use Procure a lot. There he is. Nice little black crappie. They do make a little bit of a mess, so I keep a fish towel with me to wipe off my hands, and I also keep those scents in little Ziploc bags. And then every once in a while I change out the bags, because they do make a little bit of a mess, just the nature of the scent. So just kind of roll with it. But it does make a big difference, I think, in fish catches. There's another little bass. Definitely not a 5-pounder like before. And that one I got on a Megabass Karashi. I was just playing around with a few different lures. I tried a couple different things. I tried crankbaits, both square bills and deep divers. I couldn't get them to go on the crankbaits. But I got one little guy on the Karashi, and then I switched over to a Shimano Zumverno in the clown color, and I switched rods too. So this is a 7.2 medium light Corrado. You can use this rod for a lot of different things, but it works great for jerkbaits too. I use it for the Bass Assassin Shad. I use it for a lot of different things. It's a very versatile rod. And it's also great for throwing jerkbaits. It's also the same rod that I use for BFS Texas rigs, little micro jigs. This one swiped at, and I got him almost in the back. Right out of the box, the Zumverno is ready to fish. You don't have to do anything to it. It's got sticky sharp hooks, which are useful fishing jerkbaits, because sometimes the fish just swipe at it like that one did. Oh my goodness, he's a tiny one. See you later, bud. Thanks for playing. Come back when you're a little bigger. And I only got one color of the Zumverno. See how when you tap it, it kind of shimmies there? It's got like a metallic film suspended by a couple of springs inside the body of the jerkbait. And so when you pause it, it has a little bit of secondary action, but it's just the shimmy of the film inside the bait is kind of flashing a little bit more after you pause it. So every time I hit this jerkbait, it's that film is flashing in a bunch of different directions, and it seemed like the fish responded well to it. Now, I haven't spent that much time with the Zumverno. It's a newer bait for me. Like I said, I only have it in one color. They're not cheap, but I like the fact I can just fish it out of the box, and the fish seem to like it. So I'm probably going to pick up a more natural color. So I'll have this bold color with the clown color with the red head and kind of chartreuse body. There it is again. White belly, so it's a bold color. And they have some new colors coming out later this year, I think. And they're matte colors. So those would be good for maybe clearer water. This water right here is pretty well stained. And I had an idea that the clown color might be good for smallmouth and big crappie, things like that. So that's where I wanted to start, and just to see how well the fish respond to it. And as you can see, they respond pretty well. Now these are just little pond bass for the most part, except for the one at the beginning. I was hoping if I lit up enough fish that it would kind of ignite a school of them, and I'd just weed through the little ones and get a great big one again. But yeah, it seemed like I was catching mostly 1 to 2 pound largemouth on this, but they really seemed to go after it more so than that perch jerkbait I was fishing at the beginning. The little guy, the 65 SP Lucky Craft. And so that was kind of interesting to me, that they seemed to prefer this jerkbait over that smaller one. And I'm liking it. So yeah, I have to expand the arsenal a little bit, get at least one more color, kind of a natural color for clear water. Let's see what I can do from there. Yeah, like I said, I'm fishing it on a medium light Corrado, 7.2 medium light Corrado. It's labeled as a BFS rod, but it's really kind of heavy for BFS. I've got a Micro Monster BFS reel on it. That's a clone of the Dark Wolf Ultra series of reels. It's just a cheaper BFS reel. I'll be lucky if I get a couple years out of it. I paid around $50 for the reel, and that's about what it's worth, I'd say. You won't confuse it with a high-end reel, but you know, I've caught a ton of fish on this combo this year, and it's still going strong, so I've got no complaints. I've got Suffix 832 braid as the main line. That's 10-pound Suffix 832 in a green color, and I've got a leader of 6-pound Yozuri hybrid. I use that stuff for everything. It's a great leader material. You could also use it as a main line, but I like it mostly as a leader material. And you can get 275 yards of the stuff for, I forget the latest price, but if you get it on sale, it might be $5, $6, $7, $8. And compared to some of the leader spools of some high-grade fluoro, like, I don't know, Seaguar Gold Label, which I also like, it's just really expensive for what you get. If you do the math and figure out how much you're paying per yard, the Yozuri hybrid is just such a great deal. And it's plenty strong. It's got just a little bit of stretch. And the fish, I don't think, can tell the difference. The only thing is it just runs a little bit thick. So, you know, if I was going to use 10-pound Seaguar Gold Label, I would use 6-pound Yozuri hybrid. And I think it's about as strong. And it's just so much cheaper. And I got another one on. Yeah, they were really liking this, the Shimano Zumverno. So I got to try this bait at a few other places and see if they respond as well to it. I mean, compared to other jerkbaits. Now I'm sure if I stuck with that little perch Lucky Craft jerkbait, I probably would have caught some more fish. But I tried it, and like I said, I tried a bunch of other baits, and they seem to really respond to this jerkbait in particular better than the Lucky Craft. Now maybe in clear water or a different day it might be different. Who knows? I was just impressed at how well they responded to it. There's another little bass. Thanks for playing, bud. This was another little jerkbait. They don't make this one anymore. It's made by 13 Fishing. It's called the Whippersnapper. And what's unique about this one is that it dives a little bit deeper. It's got a deep diving bill on it. And the line tie is on the nose, I believe, which is pretty rare. So a lot of deep diving jerkbaits, you'll see the line tie on the bill. And I don't really like that. That causes them to act more like crankbaits than jerkbaits. And I know in certain situations it can make sense. But for me, I don't really care for that. Hey, look, I got another crappie. So I like the line tie on the nose with a deep diving bill, and that lets me get down and work the jerkbait like a jerkbait and not like a crankbait. And the only problem with this bait is that they quit making it. Now I have no idea why. I emailed the company. I asked them if they had any more supply because I wanted to buy them. I wanted to buy them out. If they had any, and they said they didn't have any. They weren't planning on restarting it. So yeah, it's just too bad. You know, once you go through the trouble of figuring out how to adjust the treble hooks and get these things to suspend perfectly in cold water, and then for whatever reason a company discontinues that jerkbait, it's just disappointing. And this is my last one, so if I lose this one, there's no more of them. Maybe I could try on eBay or something to see if I could find a couple more. Maybe before this video goes out anyway. But that was it. That was, I think, the last fish of the evening, and I packed it in pretty soon after this. The star today was definitely the little BFS jerkbaits. The Lucky Craft 65 SP caught the big one, but I caught the most fish on the Shimano Zumverno SP in the clown color. And I'm going to be fishing that bait a whole lot more this fall and early winter, right up until ice, I guess. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Just like all my other videos, I'll put all the gear, line, rods, reels, colors, sizes, hook upgrades, if any, in the video description so you can duplicate what I was doing out here today and hopefully have some good success on your own home lakes fishing BFS jerkbaits. Just having a good time. All right. Catch you on the next one. See ya.